about this?
These two people.
I am geeking out.
To the Geeks Unleashed podcast.
Mark!
Jasmin!
What a nerd.
Nerd alert!
Unleashed television.
What are you talking about?
Anything can be a podcast. Video game.
What is a geek?
Oh, hi, Mark. The whole point is, of course, the plot is...
You guys have great conversation.
I am geeking out.
Unleashed! Movies! People love movies!
All right, you guys, podcast time.
You're listening to the Geeks Unleashed podcast. Part of the Basic Movie Badass. We take our passions and our fandoms and we turn them into conversations with you.
Hello, welcome to Geeks Unleashed. This is episode 147, and I'm Mark.
I'm Jasmin.
Each week on the Geeks Unleashed podcast, we catch up on our pop culture lives and bring you a review of something adapted from the comic book or gaming world.
Yep, but before we get started, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. We appreciate that. We would love it if you would like this video and subscribe to our channel. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, we appreciate that as well. We'd also love it if you would leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser.
Also, please feel free to donate to our Ko-Fi. All funds are appreciated and help keep the lights on. So
yes.
This is also, before we actually do go any further, it's our first kind of official episode of the year because, as we said,
like numbered episode of the year.
Yeah, like 100 and whatever.
Yeah.
So what I think we said it last week, just to clarify again, conversations will be separate.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do them maybe monthly, maybe every other month, just whenever we feel like talking about.
Tickles our fancy.
Yeah, whenever we feel like talking about something random. Yeah, because. We just sort of fancied it and thought actually we used to chat about random crap all the time, and we do quite like keeping these episode 100 and whatever episodes to just our reviews, and we thought it would make it clearer to anyone that does listen or watch on YouTube. And I actually did get it up on YouTube last week, so that you're clear of it's clearly obvious what we're doing. So the conversation episodes will be something that we want to chat about, and these review episodes will be include Geek of the Week and a review. So,
yep. And
there we go. It's a nice little segue into Geek of the Week.
I've been there.
I'll go first, or you go first?
You got it. You go.
Okay. I didn't do that much, but I did watch a long film, almost as long as the movie we're about to chat about.
I was just going to say a long one in addition to the long one that we already watched.
Yeah. This one, so it's 2.5 hours long, Anatomy of a Fall. So I watched a trailer for this like a month or two ago, and I'd forgotten all about it. But I remember when I looked at the cinema listings for my local cinema the other day, I saw it, and they only had one showing, which was last night. And I thought, I'm going to go. It looked intriguing to me. It was kind of a murder mystery-esque movie. Long story short, within the first 5 or 10 minutes, the husband, it's a family, a husband and wife, and they have a son and a dog, which actually is quite relevant to the plot of the movie, which I didn't. The dog, shockingly, is actually does play a relevant part of the movie. So
better treat Cooper better then.
I better treat my dog better, yeah. So he, don't say that, people might think I'm I joke with my kids that I love to hate Cooper.
So you need to go take him to the doggy massage, he needs better treats. Come on.
Do you know what? I was sorry. We'll go back to Anatomy of the Fall in a minute. I was on the phone for work earlier to a colleague, and I thought I could hear. I knew he was in the kitchen, and he likes to sit in the armchair in the corner. And I thought I could hear him eating, and I thought that's weird because I know I haven't given him any food, and he'd had breakfast, but I knew I hadn't given him a bone or anything, and I know if I can hear him eating, that normally means he's been naughty. So I walk in there, and okay, so like if you were to eat a baguette, like a big baguette or a big Subway or something, you might hold it with both hands potentially, or yeah. So I walk in there, and he's sitting there all relaxed in his armchair. With both his front paws together, as it like fists, holding a pack of Hall's Soothers, which are cough sweets, and just munching into them. And
eating cough drops.
And I just walked in. I was like, "No, these are not for you." And I was on the phone to my colleague, and she's like, "Maybe he's got a sore throat." I went, "Maybe he will have a sore throat now." So So
I can't
I went,
believe you didn't get a picture of that.
no, I didn't, because I just wanted to take them out of his paws. I was about to say hands, out of his paws before he actually. I don't know how much he actually got to, but I could hear he was attempting to get into the wrapper, and I was like, no. Like, so you're not sitting like, but he was just sitting there all casual, just like laid out, like in the armchair.
Just doing what the humans do.
Honestly, when you see him in the armchair sitting there, he's just. Like, it just makes me laugh, especially at the moment as well. He's got a bow tie on and like around his collar, and he just sits in the armchair. We'll be in the kitchen cooking or eating or whatever, and he just sits in the armchair just looking at all of us with his little bow tie on. And I'm just like, it's so weird. Like, you're sitting in like a dog sitting in the armchair with a bow tie on, like all looking chill. Anyway, right, Anatomy of a Fall, 2.5 hours long. I didn't realize this is a French crime drama movie, and it felt very much like a miniseries. Now, my only real criticism, if I'm honest, is the length of time. I didn't know it's going to be 2.5 hours long. I didn't know, and I also didn't know it was going to be a French independent crime movie. There was nothing wrong with that part. I just didn't realize that, to be honest. So I got in and I was like, oh, okay. I had quickly looked it up, to be honest, in the cinema once I realized. So the movie flicks between English and French. So the main character does speak in English quite a lot. And that's actually quite a cool part of the story, that it flicks between French and English. So what happens is the husband is found dead fairly quickly into the movie. He's laying at the bottom of the house. And very quickly, I realized that we move into, did the wife push or did he fall? Like, and there is actually a court case. The dog did not do it. So, and so you move very quickly into investigation, then into court scenes, and etc., etc. And yeah, so I don't really want to ruin it at all for anybody that may or may not watch it. The cinema was actually quite packed. I was quite shocked. It wasn't like full, but there was a good chunk of people in there for an 8 o'clock movie on a Thursday night for this movie, and so which I was quite pleasantly surprised about. And I enjoyed watching it, and I actually did learn about French courtrooms. The style of it was very different to what I've seen on American courtroom scenes and English courtroom scenes. I've never obviously been in a actual court of any kind. I was in court once, like years ago, and it was a small, it was a business related thing. I went with my dad as a witness to somebody that owed him some money, but it was literally 3 people sitting next to the judge on a table, so it wasn't anything particularly exciting. But I've never been in one of those big courtrooms, you know, when you have like 50 people all just sitting there watching. I've never ever done any of that stuff, so I've never actually seen English or American live. So my only guide is what's on television.
Oh, does jury duty count? Because I've seen 2 different courtrooms because of jury duty.
No, I've never done jury duty. Like, really? So far, I've been lucky enough to avoid getting called up. So I've made it into my 40s and so far made it. So, yeah, no, so the courtroom scene was particularly different. I won't get into details now, but yeah, so they very much, and hence the name Anatomy of a Fall, dissect so much about the fall, but also they dissect so much about their marriage and the people they are, going back to several years earlier because their son had a horrible accident, and you know, which had lasting implications and a lot of stuff. So and the husband is only really seen in kind of flashbacks, but that are driven by the plot of the movie. So whilst they were investigating, they found out that the husband used to record conversations between him and his wife. And the day before he died, they played a recording they'd found on a USB stick. And so initially you can hear the audio in the courtroom, and then it flashes back to actually where you can see the scene between them. And they obviously they show the actor, and then later on as well, the son is giving testimony, and he's talking about conversation between him and his dad. And then as he's talking about what happened between him and his dad, it then flashes back to actually show the scene. So you don't the flashbacks I think are used quite well, if I'm honest. So they're not constant throughout the movie. They're just driven by the plot. So no, I enjoyed it. It was too long, if I'm honest. But other than that, I actually really did enjoy the movie, and I'm almost pleased for myself. Well, no, I am pleased for myself that I actually went and watched something that I wouldn't normally go and watch. So
Well, that's cool though. Getting out
Yeah.
there, seeing some new things.
yeah. And what about yourself?
All right, so my geek of the week actually is a follow along from our previous episode, which was one of my anticipated shows for 2024. I started watching it. How about that?
That's good.
I'm
Yes.
ahead of schedule.
Not talking,
So I
not talking
started
about it
watching
in
the
not
Cherry
talking about it in
Magic
December.
anime.
I was
Do
gonna say
what?
not talking about December next year or something like that. So
I'm not waiting till the last minute. I'm getting it out of the way early. So I did start watching the Cherry Magic anime on Crunchyroll, and it is really funny and it's really sweet. It's about this guy Adachi, who again, the superstition is like, oh, if you can make it to 30 and you're still a virgin, then you become a wizard. And so like he does pick up this odd ability to hear what other people are thinking. And so that's how he discovers that his coworker Kurosawa has a crush on him. So it's really cute so far. It's only been 2 episodes
what's it
so
on?
far in 2024, but I'm enjoying it.
What platform's it on?
Crunchyroll.
Oh, okay. I know you love Crunchyroll.
I do love Crunchyroll.
I occasionally sub to that. Like, I haven't watched Jujutsu Kaisen season 2 yet, but I did it for season 1, and I probably
I've been
will.
waiting to watch JJK season 2. Like, mainly I've been waiting for the dub to finish because I do like the English cast. So I'll watch it in English and then I'll turn around and watch it again in Japanese. But that's what I'm waiting on, for that to finish. So
I did
I
start
think
watching
it's almost
season
done.
2. I did start watching season 2, but then I couldn't be bothered. I watched the first bunch of episodes that had originally released, and then I couldn't be bothered to watch it weekly. So I then and then I kind of forgot what happened in season 1. Started watching season 1. I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to wait till season 2 finishes, and then I'll do season 1 again. But no, that Cherry Magic sounds actually really cool. I like the idea of it. So maybe
really
I might delve into Crunchyroll again. I think for me, I'll kind of sub to it and then watch some stuff and then unsub to it. I know you watch more anime than I do. But...
Yeah, it's pretty much between that and Netflix. Those are the two that I use the most. But I mean, like, I'm just watching anime on Crunchyroll, and then I'm watching my Korean dramas on Netflix. Like, I'm not really watching much else on Netflix at the moment.
I actually unsubbed to Netflix a couple of months ago, which is quite weird. So
I watched the Batman on Netflix because I don't know what happened with HBO Max, but pretty much every WB film and DC film is now on Netflix. So
they realize now by doing it all themselves, they don't get that licensing money.
dun dun dun.
At some point, it's all going to go pop. So they're dumping all that money into all their own platforms that are loss making.
Yeah.
And Netflix is like, we're just waiting. They're all going to come back.
Yeah, we're waiting it out.
Netflix, unfortunately for them, had the established audience. They were in pretty much every country. I mean, HBO Max isn't over here, so I don't even know if HBO Max is only in the US, isn't it? So I don't know if it's in other countries.
No, I have
but
no idea.
Well, yeah, we don't have it. So a lot of these companies, they licensed out all their product everywhere around the world. So it was quite difficult to go and launch HBO Max, internationally, because actually, what would they be launching it with? And then they realize actually when you don't license it out and you just only you're reliant just purely on subs.
Yep.
And not relying on licensing.
It's a bad business model.
It's a bad business model, and it's going to go pop at some point. I think there'll be some survivors. Disney Plus, I think, might last it out, and Netflix, I think, will last it out because they're also happy to make shit, aren't they?
Yeah, but I think Netflix is doing a lot more licensing. Like, I think that's how they got all of the DC content, plus like all of the Korean content. Like, they're licensing all of this Korean content from streamers. Like, there's a streamer called Vicky that's pretty big over in Southeast Asia that Netflix licenses a lot of their stuff from Vicky. So I appreciate it because then I get to watch stuff that is in my region because I can't get Vicky.
But also, they're making, I think, a lot of cheap, cheap stuff as well. Like you said, like I think last year I saw quite a lot of cheap, sort of British-made dramas or crime dramas. 8-episode stuff, which I can't imagine them cost that much to make. Like I don't know, £1 million or something to make 8 episodes with some actors that have never appeared in anything other than
everything costs
Casualty.
more than $1 million these days, Mark.
Well, yeah, no, I'm being slightly sarcastic, but I imagine it didn't cost more than a couple of million.
Yeah,
and
budget.
yeah, I can't remember what it was. I watched some crime drama that came out on Netflix last year. It was some girl that went on the run and became a teacher in Spain or something or other, and like the cast was all fairly unknown. I think some guy from Skins might have been in it or something. Other than that, it was a bunch of unknowns, and I just thought to myself, this really feels cheap. If I'm honest, it doesn't feel like it costs much more than 20 quid to make this TV series. I enjoyed watching it, nothing wrong with it, but I think Netflix is quite happy to make real low budget stuff and can get away with it because of the volume of audience they've got.
Yeah.
However, if Disney Plus went and made that, people would be slating them, destroying them for it.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
But I think now Netflix will make cheap stuff, and people seem to like it. So anyway, let's not slate these streamers any longer. I'm sure they'll be their own demise. So we're going to talk about this week's main event. So the reason before I jump into this, I felt like we should mirror. So this time last year, on our second ever episode of 2023, we'd never watched the Joker, and we went and did the Joker. And I said to Jasmin, how funny would it be to mirror last year, and we'll do the Batman, which came out in 2022. So obviously not connected with the Joker in any capacity, but I just thought it was a nice little symmetry.
So we did though, this was a better viewing experience than the Joker.
So directed by Matt Reeves, screenplay and story by Matt Reeves and Peter Craig, based on characters from DC Comics.
And it stars Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, Paul Dano, Jeffrey Wright, John Turturro, Peter Skarsgård, Andy Serkis, and Colin Farrell.
It includes several characters known from the DC world of comics, and they made several first appearances, and I'll obviously give them to you now. So first appearance of Batman was in Detective Comics issue 27, which came out in May 1939. Catwoman was not long later in Batman issue 1, April 1940. The Penguin, Detective Comics 58, December 1941. Actually,
sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. We'll look it up later. But the Riddler, obviously, we haven't written down. But anyway, right, this movie was released on the 1st of March 2022, came out with a running time of 176 minutes and a budget of 185-ish million, and made a box office return of 772 million, hence why we're getting a sequel.
Yeah. Are we?
Yeah, they are doing a sequel, yeah.
I thought Penguin was getting his own TV show. I didn't realize we were getting a movie sequel.
Yeah, movie sequel and Penguin TV show.
Colin Farrell was completely unrecognizable as the Penguin. Like those were some really, really great prosthetics.
Before we go any further, I just quickly looked it up. So the Riddler's first appearance was in Detective Comics issue 140, which came out in October 1948.
Oh, so he was a little ways after the other ones.
Yeah, so he came out about 7 years after the Penguin.
Mm-hmm. All right, got a few fun facts here. So this film was actually the first Batman film that, when Batman takes his mask off, you can see all of his eye black.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so Matt Reeves said he did that on purpose because he was like, everybody knows that they're doing it, but nobody addresses it. So he said he wanted to be sure that like this is a grittier kind of like super early version of Batman, and so Robert Pattinson, or excuse me, this version of Bruce Wayne was still figuring it out, so you could see his eye black when he would take his mask off. So okay, here's a trivia question for you, Mark. So both Zoe Kravitz and Robert Pattinson got advice from their roles predecessors. So Zoe got some advice from Michelle Pfeiffer. Pattinson got some advice from Christian Bale. What advice did they get from their predecessors?
Don't do it.
Wait, optimistic, Mark.
No. If Patterson asked Ben Affleck or George Clooney, it might have been don't do it. Or if Kravitz had gone to Halle Berry, it might have been don't do it. I don't know. What would their advice have been?
Make sure you can go to the bathroom in your suit.
Oh, is that it?
Oh,
okay.
That was the advice. Make sure you can go to the bathroom in your suit. I thought that was pretty funny. All right. So a couple of these characters are actually based on real people. When Matt Reeves was writing the first act of this film, he said he was listening to quite a bit of Nirvana, and that he based a lot of Batman and Bruce Wayne on Kurt Cobain. And he said that the Riddler, he based that character, yes, obviously on the comics, but also he was heavily influenced by the Zodiac Killer, who was a serial killer in San Francisco area in the 60s that was never, ever caught.
Oh, wow. I saw a movie with Robert Downey Jr. on the Zodiac Killer. Is that?
Zodiac.
Yeah.
Very good.
Didn't they? In the movie, did they catch someone? I'm pretty sure they did. Oh, I might have to rewatch that. I think it was a long time ago.
That was a really good movie. That movie, like they actually show you who the killer is in the movie, but
yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, they never actually catch him. But like watching that Zodiac film, there is a scene where he goes and crashes this couple's picnic and he stabs them, like, and it was like horrific to watch. And I was just like, that has got to be like, for this to not be a horror film or a slasher film, like this is the most gruesome stabbing sequence I've ever seen in a film. Like Zodiac was crazy. It was a really good movie.
Yeah, no, I remember seeing it, but I can't remember that much of it or any of it.
And it's hard to watch, but it was a good movie. Yeah, because the Zodiac Killer also did ciphers. Like the Zodiac Killer would send ciphers to the police department, and they hired code breakers to kind of help figure out what the hell the ciphers were trying to say. So yeah, a lot of the Riddler in this film specifically is based on the Zodiac Killer. All right, fun fact number 4. So Matt Reeves said he was heavily influenced by these few, like handful of Batman comics. It was Batman Ego, Batman Year One, which was really good, Batman The Long Halloween, which we did a book club on. Yep, there it is. Mark is doing some show and tell for those of you that are listening. And what is interesting is that Jeff Loeb, who did The Long Halloween, Matt Reeves actually studied under him when he was a student at USC, because Jeff Loeb was one of his screenwriting teachers or professors.
That's pretty cool as well.
So, all right, last one. This one's a question for you, Mark. I did enjoy The Long Halloween.
I'll put that down. Great. I enjoyed it too, but anyway.
I think we did that book club in 2022. So a couple of years ago. Yeah. All right, last fun fact. At a runtime of 176 minutes, this is the longest Batman film to have ever premiered, but it is the second longest comic book movie that got a theatrical release. What is the comic book movie that has the longest runtime?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, is that superheroes or is that all adaptations of comic book movies?
It's a comic book movie.
I'm wondering whether it's Endgame or whether I'm missing something with like one of those crime adaptation ones. But like, okay, I'm gonna go with Endgame.
Endgame is correct.
Okay.
2019 has a runtime of 181 minutes. So.
Oh wow. Okay. No, I was wondering because I know. Oh, I can't remember. Tom Hanks. I know he did some Road to Perdition, or I don't know how long Road to Perdition is, but I know it's an adaptation. And I was like thinking, I wonder if it was something clever like that you were going to say. But I went with Endgame because I remember that was particularly long. No issue with that because I loved Endgame, but
Yeah.
So,
And that's all I got for fun facts, y'all.
no, that's good. That's good. I didn't realize a lot of that stuff, and I deliberately held off because I knew you would do something like that. So, anyway, IMDb. We like to shout out the summary that IMDb put up because sometimes it's funny. And anyway, when a sadistic serial killer begins murdering key political figures in Gotham, Batman is forced to investigate the city's hidden corruption and question his family's involvement.
That's probably the best IMDb summary we've done so far. Like, that's pretty spot on for what happens in this movie.
Okay, so overall thoughts on the movie. I'm actually curious about yourself. So I've now, as of this episode, now watched this movie 3 times.
Okay.
But I know this is your first viewing.
Yes.
What are your thoughts, Jasmin?
I really want to fight with every single person that was on our 2022 year-end episode that said that this film was better than Top Gun Maverick. I want to fight you. Okay. I want all of y'all to come back on here and I want to fight because no, this film was absolutely not better than Top Gun Maverick. Okay, now that that's off my chest. This was a better film than I thought it would be. I enjoyed how almost grounded it was. Like, it was not one of the over the top eccentric like superhero films that we're used to. But it also wasn't quite as like in your face as the Christopher Nolan ones either. So it hit sort of this balance that I was not expecting in a superhero film. So yeah, I did enjoy it. It was too long. I mean, there was just, you could have cut an hour and you wouldn't have lost anything. I think there were definitely parts that were too moody and too brooding that were just not necessary, and they didn't do anything to push the plot forward. It was just like, I am over all of this just like silent screen time. There's just no need for all of that kind of stuff. But overall, I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, but I also had very low expectations.
Okay, so 3 times I've seen it. The first time I saw it actually at cinema. I remember I went to the Light in Addlestone with my friend Aston. I went and saw it together and had pizza and a beer. So it's one of those nice cinemas that tends to do the food and the drink, and we made a little bit of a thing of it and went to it. And I did not realize it was 3 hours long. When I went to see it, and eating in the cinema and having a beer probably was not a good idea, because I'll be honest, I do remember my eyes closing a couple of times in the cinema, I'm not gonna lie. And the heating was on as well, and we had those seats, the recliner seats, and my feet were up, and I'll be honest, I started to feel a little bit cozy. So my eyes did go a couple of times, and I walked out of that initial viewing and I honestly thought this was an awful movie. Like, words can't describe it. Now, I think there was a lot of that was because of me. I went in there with different expectations of a Batman movie. We'd had these high octane, action-packed, charisma-driven, Christian Bale style and Christopher Nolan style movies, which were amazing, absolutely amazing. A really tight, really well thought out trilogy of movies, so good. Now, I know Ben Affleck got a lot of crap. I actually did enjoy his version of Batman. Again, action-packed Ben Affleck. I thought Ben Affleck did a really good job. Slightly different style to Christian Bale's, but again, high octane, kind of humor in there, and you know, that kind of tend to be the Hollywood style again, the humor, the charisma, and the action.
Yeah.
I went in, and I think the trailer for this Batman movie, I remember at the time, kind of highlighted a lot of the action. So I went in there expecting just stereotypical summer blockbuster type movie. When I walked out, I was like, what the F, basically.
Yeah, because this is definitely not a blockbuster film.
Yeah, I walked out of there heavily disappointed.
Yeah.
And when this came, and I can even remember the sort of the differing opinions on social media when this first came out. I actually remember Matt from Talking Pop Culture putting something on Facebook or whatever around this movie and how much he loved it. And I was just like, what? Like, I remember commenting, what? And I even was like, I hate this film. And then he said some things which actually, on a second viewing, so when I watched it the second time at home, my opinion completely shifted. There were several months, probably 6 months between viewings, and I went on a rewatch. So when I went to cinema with my friend, and when I rewatched it at home, I watched it with my wife. I encouraged her to watch it because she loves Batman. She loves the Christian Nolan films. In fact, she loves the original four, even the George Clooney one. She loves them, and she has said on rewatches the George Clooney one isn't as good as she remembers from being a child. Like, but she does love them films. So I said, "Come on, let's watch it." She doesn't like this film at all. It doesn't fit. She prefers the other style that I've referenced. On a rewatch, sitting with my wife to watch this, I completely changed my opinion of it. And the second watching really shifted the fact that I actually quite like this film.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the style of it. And the realization that actually this isn't a Bruce Wayne film. This is a Batman film. This is just purely a Batman film with a sprinkling of Bruce Wayne. This is a pure...
that Bruce Wayne was...
this is a Batman film, and for me, this felt very much like the detective movie. So whilst again, there's sprinklings of detective in the other movies, they're action movies.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually a detective movie.
You know what this movie feels like? Seven.
Yeah.
Feels like it has the same color palette as Seven. Yeah. It has the same like murdering people in these super extreme ways and then trying to figure out the riddles and make sense of what's it like. I think after the first death, I was like, I've never seen a superhero film that reminds me of Seven. Like,
honestly, and I completely love the dynamic between Robert Pattinson as Batman and Jeffrey Wright. Mm-hmm. I thought he played a great Commissioner Gordon, and I can see what you mean about the Seven because they're very much a duo. Mm-hmm. Detective, and even the Penguin said so much for the greatest detectives, and that's basically what they are throughout the movie. Although they're still well, Batman's still learning. I don't know. So the third time I watched it, which was I actually finished it earlier tonight before we recorded. My wife was rewatching it with me, and she again said, "Actually, rewatching this with you made me realize how much I hate this movie." However, I said, on a rewatch, I'm completely different. I actually love this movie. I really love this movie. I love the style of it. I love the color palette, like you referred to. I love the tone. I don't know. There was so much. I love that actually this was a completely different take on the Batman that we've had. So bravo to Matt Reeves for doing something different, really. If I'm honest, he could have just produced another Batman movie that we've seen, action, Batman versus somebody and fighting and blah, 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 blah. And okay, there was action and fire and blah, blah. Because of course there would be, it's Batman. But actually, I love the fact that it's Batman arriving at nightclubs and, getting Catwoman to, go undercover for him essentially. And we haven't seen things like that before. So I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. So
I would say that's also one of my, what I really liked about this film. It has the gadgets, but the gadgets are used very sparingly. Mm-hmm. And so when he does finally use a gadget, it really has a bigger impact because it does not feel kitschy or cheesy or just over the top, like some superhero stuff. I felt like all of the gadgets that he used were very well placed, especially you were just using those contact lenses.
The eye thing, yeah.
That was super freaking cool.
It was cool that they used it later on that they used it later on, where Catwoman had a note above the contact lens, like
Mhm.
I can't remember what it said, like "Where are you? Are you there?" or something like that.
Mhm.
And then they end up chatting again, like it was like an hour later in the film, and they end up chatting through the contact, and they use it well for the story. So, and I think again that comes down to really good writing, that they wanted to find a way for Catwoman to be able to contact Batman, and they'd set that up. So I don't know. It was good. It was good. It was good planning and execution throughout by our writers and director. So throughout the movie, there's many characters, and I want to just highlight here. In the past, I've been really highly critical, and I whether that's socially or on this podcast, of when they ruin films by injecting normally sequels, where they're like, "Oh yeah, we've had a really good film. Let's make a sequel and let's put in four of his villains." And they've did it with the Spider-Man films. They've done it with Batman films. They've done it with loads of films. They're like, "Oh, let's get Arnie in as Mr. Freeze and Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy and so as Bane," and it just ruins the film. Anyway, we've got Penguin, we've got Riddler, and we've got Catwoman. 3 villains in this movie, and Falcone. So 4 villains in this movie. Actually, they did it really well.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like a villain movie. It honestly still felt like very much like a Batman movie. And I honestly felt that they juggled that volume of villains really well, and all of them served the plot and the story and the relationships and Batman's journey. And I Matt Reeves, handled these characters well. It's almost like he knows what he's doing.
He didn't get overwhelmed by the occasion, that's for sure. It did
no corny lines. You'll go to the cooler.
Okay, yeah, but I like the corny lines in my superhero movies, man. I'm not gonna lie. I like them. But I really liked that he gave space for his villains to be villainous. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it very much reminded me of like Heath Ledger's Joker, where we actually just get to see a maniac being a maniac,
Mm-hmm.
And I love the way that they all played, like you said, like they all played their part. Mm-hmm. Nobody was stepping on anybody else's toes. Nobody got in the way of anyone else, and I don't think any
ridiculous team ups.
Yeah, like and no one overshadowed anyone else. Like they all had enough space for their characters in this film, to the point where you do, like, you just almost forget that there's 4 bad guys.
And that's honestly, like, I did kind of in some ways forgot that there was 4 bad guys. I didn't forget that they were in the movie, but they so like Batman Returns, which we covered earlier or middle of last year, and we did talk about, really weirdly, that it was Penguin and Catwoman. And their ridiculous team up, which came out of nowhere. It was just, how can we get these 2 to team up? Which was unnecessary. They didn't need to team up. Michelle Pfeiffer didn't need to team up with Danny DeVito. Nope. They could have just done their own thing, which is basically what happens here. They did their own thing. And they all had their own storylines while they intersected with each other. Yeah. Matt Reeves did a really good job of intersecting their own character journeys. Like Catwoman had her own journey, the Penguin and Falcone had their own stories going on, and obviously the Batman wanted to save the city, as he always does, but it was handled with so well. But anyway, there's a lot of characters in here, including Alfred, who we haven't yet actually mentioned, who probably, if I'm honest, has the smallest role of any Alfred. I think of any Alfred.
I love Andy Serkis.
I know he did it well though. So we've got our Commissioner Gordon, we've got our Alfred, we've got our Batman, we've got our 4 villains that we've just said, and there's a sprinkling of others. Do you know, even the cop at the end where Batman pulls up the rug, I know he's a real minor character, but I felt that he really played cop on the door really well. I know that's weird to say, because I think he showed up in a few other scenes and I quite liked him. So do you have a favorite character in this?
I do. Well, I have 2. Can I have 2?
Yeah, go on then. Why not?
Okay. So I would definitely have to pick Penguin. I think just because, like, in the back of my mind, there's like all this anticipation of like just how bad is he? Like, how much are we going to get to see? Because like by the time I watched this, I knew that he was going to have his own TV show. So the anticipation is like, I want to see what kind of villain we're building here. So I really, really enjoyed Penguin's character. Because to me, Penguin's character was very much on the, look, I'm playing for the team that's going to do the best for me. And I love like a good villain who's an opportunist. Like, I love it. And then I also really loved Jeffrey Wright as Gordon.
I agree. Jeffrey Wright, so good.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I know we'll talk about favorite scenes in a minute, and I actually had loads. I love that scene in the police station where
he's whispering.
Yeah, where he's whispering, but I love the whole breakout scene. Well, I love from the moment he wakes up, when Batman wakes up on the metal table, they're about to take his mask off, and then it's full of I don't know, it's like 20-25 cops in this room, and he's like really trying to punch his way around all of them, and Jeffrey Wright is really like defending Batman, and the way he's talking to him. It's like he's from afar. It looks like they're arguing. He's like, and he's talking in such a gruff way. And he's like, right, you're going to need to punch me, and then you're going to need to run out the door, and like there's a key, and then you have to go in here. All right, and he's like, right, punch me now. Like, and it's just like, but you show from a distance, and it kind of he's like sort of arching his head as he's doing it, and it's like look like he's having a right go at him, but actually he's like trying to save him, trying to go, oh, you're going to have to do this, and but no, it was so good, like really. You know, maybe one day we might rate Commissioner Gordon's, but like he's definitely up there.
He was definitely really charismatic, and that scene actually reminded me of one of the scenes from Mission Impossible. I can't think of which one it is, but there's a scene at Mission Impossible where Ethan Hunt gets captured, and the guy who's interrogating him is actually his former boss, and he asks Ethan if he can still read lips, and so he's doing the same thing, like he's reading off this paper about all of these bad things that Ethan did, but then he's like lip talking on how to get out of the place that he's in. So yeah, that reminded me of that.
Oh yeah. I remember what you're talking about. I think that was 3. I think anyway. Favorite character, I have to agree about the Jeffrey Wright thing. I think Commissioner Gordon, he wasn't commissioner yet. Okay, whatever, like
he was way down the line, because the first commissioner got murdered, and then another guy got to be commissioner, and then I don't know what happens to that guy.
Sorry, years of him being commissioner at some point. So anyway, I love Selena. I thought she was great. I thought she did Zoe Kravitz did a really good job as Catwoman, I'll be honest.
And this is the first time they humanized Catwoman. Like, they actually gave her something else to do. You know, like she was not just this sex toy, right? Like she actually had her own thing going on. Like, she was looking for her friend, and she had all this drama with Falcone. Like, she had an actual story as opposed to just being arm candy.
I definitely agree. Like the dynamic between her and Falcone, her and Batman, the bit where she's undercover in the nightclub, I thought that was great as well. I love that she argues with Batman, going, if I turn my head, that's going to be a whole load of other drama. And then he was like, oh, do you want to? She's like, oh, you're the DA, blah, blah, blah. He's like, do you want to come sit? And she's like, love to. And I'm like, damn. That made me think, how many girls have I ever chatted to that like actually just didn't want to sit with me? And not like it just made me think like, damn, have I ever been in a position where someone's like genuinely like, I actually don't think that's, I'm sure it has happened to many people, but like just, oh no, I don't want to come sit with you, but I'm going to say yes anyway to be polite. And luckily I haven't had to date for over 15 years, so yeah. But that did make me laugh. But anyway, no, I thought she did so good, Zoe Kravitz. Like, I just thought she was a really good Catwoman, and I agree with you. One of the things I really loved as well, though, and this isn't her acting, was her simplified costume. Really simple, just a balaclava, basically, with a big cutout, and just pretty much a leather. It's like a motorbiker's thing. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, no, I would say she was my favorite, but I know I agreed with you about Gordon, but if I had to choose a second, I think the Penguin. I just think Colin Farrell, it doesn't matter that it was Colin Farrell. I mean, it was Colin Farrell, but I have to admire an actor that he put his ego aside. You couldn't tell that's Colin Farrell.
if that had not been broadcast all over the place, I never ever would have been able to figure out who the hell that guy was.
It makes you wonder, like, why on earth they chose Colin Farrell only to then not use his face.
Because surprisingly, Colin Farrell's a really good character actor.
No. What I mean is, like, why they didn't go out to look for somebody that looked like what they wanted to look like.
Because I think Matt Reeves was actually casting people based on their ability.
Yeah, no, but I think that's great though that he went by the ability. But Colin Farrell was like, it doesn't matter to me. I'm just an actor. I don't care about my image. Like,
actually, fun fact. This is one that was not included, but like, because this film was delayed due to COVID, Colin Farrell was so bored during COVID that all he did was work out. And eventually the costume designers and all of the other people that worked on set, like for his prosthetics and all of those, they had to tell him, please stop working out, because the more you bulk up, the more we have to change your costume, because he's wearing a fat suit and everything. Like, he's wearing a fat suit and he's wearing like face prosthetics. And they were like, your body is changing too quickly. And like, our designs are not able to keep up. So if you could please stop working out. I thought that was
that's quite funny. That's quite funny. Right. So the structure of the movie, I've gonna 3 hours, right? Okay. And there's a lot. I'll be honest, way too much to unpack on a single podcast. There's a lot of scenes. There's a lot to this movie. We've touched on a little bit on bits and pieces already. I think, Bruce Wayne is not really in this movie. There's like I say, a sprinkling of him. This isn't a Bruce Wayne movie. This isn't a character of Bruce Wayne. This isn't a journey of what happened in the alleyway. And I'm so glad that we didn't get to see it.
Thank God. Haven't we had that enough?
I don't know. I admire the fact that we're now moving past origin stories. They've done that again with Tom Holland as Spider-Man. It's we don't need to keep seeing how he became Batman, how he became Spider-Man. And I really hope that Jimmy Gunn doesn't do that with Superman either. They just jumped into being Superman. We don't need the origins of these big characters anymore. And in fact, to be honest with you, even when we get random characters, we don't really need the origins. You can just skip over the origin and just get on with the story. So I think these origin movies in general, I think they've had their day, if I'm honest. So
I think
I'm glad that we
filled in some of the gaps that the other ones have left out. Like, we get to see a little bit more of Thomas Wayne and about the history with the Waynes and the Arkhams. So like, they do have a bit of a history lesson in the film, but it does not revolve around our title character, I thought that was nice to have a little bit of background on Martha's family, really, because we never get background on the Arkhams.
Do you not remember when you watched the Joker last year that we actually loved the fact that Thomas Wayne had a bigger role in the Joker as well?
Oh, see, I don't really remember that movie experience. As soon as we recorded that podcast, I just took all of that out of my head and threw it away.
Did I remember when Thomas Wayne was at the gate and the Joker came to the gate, and also in the toilet
I do remember liking Thomas Wayne a lot in that.
So the symmetry there. No, it was good to. I liked the fact that they talked about the history of the Arkhams and the history of the Waynes and brought that up, and that actually the Gotham itself is just such a chaos of deception and lies and corruption, and the corruption even to the fact that the Waynes had an element of potential corruption, and the interactions between Falcone and I actually quite liked Falcone and Bruce Wayne's interactions as well.
John Turturro did a really great job as Falcone. Like, he was really good Falcone.
Yeah, I agree. Like I say, this film it's a long movie, 3 hours long, and we can talk about that in a moment, because I'm sure you'll come to that in a second. But I think they did really well in the pace of the movie. It was slow, occasional action-packed moments, and they gave us enough space to allow the additional villains in, and the obviously the character journeys that we had. But did you have any favorite moments? I honestly had quite a few, if I'm honest, because there's some good key moments as we went through the movie. But did you have any favorite scenes at all?
So I really liked the chase sequence.
Oh yeah, that's one of mine.
Or with Batman chasing Penguin. I really, really enjoyed that sequence. I also, and this is probably because like I'm a weirdo, but the scene where Riddler like gets like he's doing his video for the first commissioner and he has his head in the box and like releases the rats to eat his face.
Oh yeah.
And I really liked a lot of the a lot of the scenes where it's a crime scene and there's police everywhere and then it's like Jim Gordon and Batman and they're just like tooling around the scene, the two of them together, and all these other cops are just like, why the hell is that guy here? But I thought that was just so cool to see, like Batman just hanging out with the cops, like doing their job essentially, you know. That was really interesting. So I really did enjoy that element of the way that Matt Reeves kind of built that into the movie. But as far as like the length, what I did not enjoy was the up down of this film, because it would be like quiet action, quiet action, and it was just like, can we just have a normal bell curve? Like, can we have rising action, climax, and then we're all gonna come down? Like, can we do this the like? I just thought it was too much, and I think doing it that way is what made this film entirely too long. Like there were some parts where I think they were very obviously trying to be cinematic, like a lot of the overhead city shots where it's like the drone is flying over the city and we're following the car and we're doing, and it's like, I don't care. I get it. Like I understand that this is Gotham and it's dingy and it's dark and like I get that. Like I'm very familiar with Gotham. I don't need a 10-minute non-speaking sequence of us seeing all of these different parts of Gotham. Like, so that is what bothered me the most about it. Was like the quiet parts really annoyed me in this film, because it just like it felt so unnecessary. Like you're breaking up these action sequences to insert this really slow, really quiet moment, but it's not necessary. Like those moments aren't actually what are building these characters. To me,
Do you know what? I had this vague flashback of a memory, and I honestly can't remember what I said, but I remember us recording. Maybe you can remember, but I remember us recording when we did the season 1 review of Batwoman. I remember me saying something about Gotham City, but I can't remember what I said. Like I can't remember, but something when you said that about the quiet moments and the overviews of Gotham City, and I can remember saying something about it. It's annoying now, but anyway, I would disagree. I actually loved all these quiet moments, and I loved particularly sometimes you'd see like Batman as the sun is rising over Gotham, and I sort of love that color palette, and also we see the skyline of Gotham, and you know the what do you call it, the sporting arena thing in Gotham. I loved seeing that. I love seeing that. Obviously, the outskirts. We've got just I love seeing that, the fact that for me, Batman movies are like event movies as well. We get them so sparingly, and when they're done well, and I think this movie has been done well, I enjoy the fact that we get to spend some time in Gotham City and time with characters that are familiar to us, although a different take on this version of these characters. I loved seeing the world building that Matt Reeves was doing, and to see these quiet moments. And yeah, I don't know, I quite liked seeing all these bits and pieces, I'll be honest. And yeah, so favorite scenes, I'll be honest, I loved that car chase, and I loved the Penguin versus Batman in the Batmobiles. I loved the stripped down Batmobile. And actually something I haven't said, sorry, in this whole movie was, I don't know how long this movie is meant to be within Batman's career, but it feels like it's a year or two in. Hence why you've got the where he was influenced by Batman Year One. It does feel like very much like we're 12, 18 months into Batman's career.
Yeah, but his tech is still really advanced because his suit is bulletproof. Like,
yeah, I mean, he's a multi-billionaire. He still he would have had the money to get on with all that. No, it's just things like how he's flying through the city and then crashes on that bus and does a tumble.
oh, yeah.
And initially
my
when I
God,
first
that
saw
pissed me off
that,
so bad because you're not getting up from that. I'm sorry. Like you're not getting up from that and then jogging through the alleyway. That's not happening.
I when I first saw that at the cinema, that pissed me off, man. I was like, that really annoyed me. So I was like, no, Batman doesn't do things like that. I was like, Batman's like hardcore. Batman doesn't fall down because he hit a bus. However, on a re-review, I'm like, actually, this is Batman Year One. Batman would do stuff like that. This is an inexperienced Batman. This is whilst we don't know anything about his training, if this particular Batman went and flew around the world and met up with Ra's al Ghul or anything like that, which I doubt. Like I doubt, but he clearly had some training to get to the point where he's now Batman. He clearly didn't just wake up and go, I'm Batman.
He got his training from Alfred because very clearly this Alfred was in MI6.
This Alfred's a lot more built. So
yeah.
This Batman is clearly inexperienced, and I quite like that as well. But I enjoyed that. But no, so they've got the car chase. I love that scene. I mentioned earlier, I love the scene where he breaks out of Gotham PD. I love the scene with Catwoman where she's emotional, pulls the gun on Falcone. The revelation of their relationship, and I honestly, I think Zoe Kravitz is a really good actress. I don't think I've seen her in anything else other than this, but I thought she did really well. I love the end scene as well, where the Riddler's broadcast to all of his online psychos, and suddenly a whole army of Riddlers come out. I love that fight scene at the end as well. I think that's pretty cool. So there's a lot in here to love. However, criticisms of this, whilst I think that Robert Pattinson is a really good Batman, I actually think he is a really good Batman. I'm not going to take that away from him. It's a really awful Bruce Wayne.
Absolutely.
Really awful. Now, I don't know if that's deliberate. Like, I don't know if they deliberately want him to be a rubbish Bruce Wayne, because this version of Bruce Wayne Batman doesn't want to be Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is not necessary to him. Like, he's quite open about it. He's not interested in being Bruce Wayne. And him and Alfred argue about that. So I don't know if they argue. Bruce Wayne isn't interested in an argument, but Alfred keeps trying to push the fact that he does need to be Bruce Wayne, because if he's not Bruce Wayne, how's this Batman life going to be funded? If he's, because he might eventually get voted off the board, and if he's not paying attention, which he clearly isn't paying attention. This version of Bruce Wayne is clearly inexperienced. He's not playing everybody like Christopher Nolan's Batman was. That he ended up taking back control of Wayne Enterprises when they thought they were taking it away from him. He actually ended up buying it all back and being solely in charge. That Bruce Wayne was all over everybody and had everything going on. This version of Bruce Wayne is very, I don't know what the words, it's very Fallout Boy. He's
very emo. Like, this is the most emo Bruce Wayne we've ever had.
And at some points, almost very immature Bruce Wayne, I would say, like very aggressive, like complete lack of charisma, no charm, none of that stuff.
This is the first Batman film where Batman is not at all charming. Like, not as Batman and not as Bruce Wayne. He is not charming.
No, there's nothing. Sorry, I keep thinking I'm going to sneeze, but it doesn't seem to want to happen. Oh, there we go. Sorry. And it annoyed me at the funeral scene where the cop's like, "Oh, it's Bruce Wayne," and like, wait, look, would it hurt you just to even say hello? Like, would it really? I mean, you're famous, I don't know. I don't know whether it was a deliberate. Well, I'm assuming it's a deliberate choice of Matt Reeves that he wanted him to be that style. I'm curious to see, though, in a follow up, whether Bruce Wayne is a little bit more charismatic. I think Robert Pattinson can do that. I just feel that's the route they decided to go down, and I'm not sure that really worked. So, however, this is very.
He was the least interesting part of this film. And just like his lackadaisical feel about it. Like, I don't give a shit about Bruce Wayne. Like, dude, you better, because Bruce Wayne is funding all your Batman adventures, okay?
I do agree with a comment you made earlier, and I did feel that myself, that this is very much the seven of the Batman movies. And I'm going to make this assumption here. If Matt Reeves clearly wanted Bruce Wayne to symmetry that style, I just hope that we see some growth of Bruce Wayne, because it did feel, I want to say that it felt like a very immature Bruce Wayne still, a very childish, spoiled brat type Bruce Wayne.
Right.
However, as
like,
Batman,
if you do a Batman film, Bruce Wayne cannot be an afterthought, because obviously you can't have Batman without Bruce Wayne. Like, they have to, at some point, they have to come to terms with each other, right? Like, so I think this is the first film where, because like even in Batman Begins, like Christian Bale goes out on, you know, and he's on his little sabbatical and he's like renouncing his Wayne name and all that stuff. But eventually he comes to his senses and he's like, you know what? If I really want to do this Batman thing, then I really need to play the Bruce Wayne part so that Batman can have everything that he needs. And maybe, like you said, maybe this version of Bruce Wayne just hasn't had his come to Jesus moment yet.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't looked up about when there's a sequel, but I'm sure there will be. But is there anything, and I know what you're going to say, anything you'd cut or change or anything like that?
Yeah, again, it's too long. This film was too long. It was too long, and it was too. You said you liked the pace. I didn't. I felt that the pace was just constantly interrupted. You almost couldn't get into a good rhythm, because like every time you get into the point where it's like, oh, finally we got an action sequence, and then it ends, and then there's nothing for like another 45 minutes, and then you'll have another action sequence, and I'm just like, I'm not a fan of superhero stuff going this route. Like, this is I don't know. So I think the pacing for me, the runtime, very, very obviously the runtime. Because I think we also could have spent less time on the background stuff, like less time on Thomas, less time on Falcone, less time on just like the brooding. There was too much brooding, and I didn't think it was necessary.
I think Bruce Wayne's brooding was annoying after a while. So for me, when I went to rewatch this movie, it could have been a show, could have been a miniseries. Anyway, I completely forgot it was 3 hours long. When I pressed play, I was like, oh, 3 hours. I was like, completely forgot that it was 3 hours.
I didn't realize. Like, I hit the runtime. Like, when I hit start, I was like, oh no. And like I don't know, I guess like 2 hours is about, I section off everything like for 2 hours, and I was like, oh, but it's already 8 o'clock. I'm gonna be up until like, I'm getting too old for this shit.
I did watch it over 2 days, I'll be honest. I didn't have
maybe
time.
I should have done it that way.
I didn't have time to watch it all in one go. So I completely forgot it's 3 hours. I'll be honest, I did really enjoy it. It did take a second watch for me to change my perception of it. Like I say, I went in with an expectation which wasn't suited for the movie that I watched. However, then
that's always hard to overcome too.
Yeah, so it was a kind of my. It wasn't just my fault. It's years of a certain style of Batman movie, walking in and getting a completely different style of Batman movie,
right?
And a Riddler that I was not prepared for. I was not prepared for this.
Oh yeah, we've never had a Riddler this dark.
I mean, this was a really dark Riddler. I mean, we've only had the Jim Carrey version that I'm aware of. I know Gotham City or Gotham, the TV series, had a slightly darker, but he was still campy. He was kooky.
That whole series was kind of campy. But I will say, like, he didn't make my favorite character list, but Paul Dano was fantastic as this version of the Riddler. Like,
amazing,
unhinged serial killer. Like, everything about him belonged in Arkham Asylum. Everything about him belonged there. Like, he was a really, really good. That was really, really good. Of all the characters that are in this movie, I think Paul Dano is the best of all of the casting. Like, he is so good as this Riddler. He really is.
100%. No, so I'm happy with the length for the time. I'm happy with it all. I wouldn't necessarily cut anything, but I didn't enjoy the Bruce Wayne. I wouldn't say I enjoy his scenes because I actually did quite like the funeral scene where the car flies through and he jumps out and saves the kid and he's still there when everyone else is leaving. I did enjoy how he stood his ground. I just didn't really enjoy I don't know, just the like I say, it felt to me like a childish version of Bruce Wayne. And to be fair, that it allowed Alfred to still to have the father figure. So maybe that's what they were going for. But there's a couple of things. So whilst there's no mid-credit or end credits sequences,
We do have a little bit of something. A little.
Well, yeah.
Well, it's right before the credits roll. We have Joker talking.
Yeah. That's what I was literally about to come to. So I was going to say there's nothing in the mid or the end credits, but when the Riddler is in prison, he meets somebody claiming to be a friend who's cackling and very Joker-esque. So just what I don't know. In some ways, I didn't really want that. I'll be honest.
I don't at this point, especially coming off the heels of Jared Leto and his super weird Joker. I just don't see Joker as the right move if you're doing a sequel. I don't think you pull him out of your hat. Because we got this other Joker movie that's coming out, and yes, they've already said that they're not related, like not in the same universe, whatever. But I wouldn't do it. And I know it's super hard to do a Batman anything and not include the Joker, but I would not if I were Matt Reeves. I would definitely try to find any of the other rogues from the Batman rogues.
So I've just pulled up some information actually about Batman or The Batman 2, Part 2. So apparently it's meant to come out October 3rd, 2025, and the villains for that movie are rumored to be either Mr. Freeze or Clayface.
Clayface could be interesting. We've not had Clayface.
I think Clayface would be a good choice.
Clayface would be especially interesting in this toned down world. Mm-hmm. Like how would you do like a non over the top CGI Clayface? How would that work? I'm interested now.
Well, it would have to be CGI, wouldn't it? They would have to.
Well, yeah, I mean, but like not over the top, like because too much CGI would definitely feel out of place in this universe.
Mm-hmm. Do you know there was in the comics and Detective Comics, it was like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe. There was a run of Detective Comics where it was kind of like a team Batman working at the tower. They had Batman, Robin, Batwoman, kind of created a team, and I really loved it. I can't remember who wrote it, but anyway, for that period of time, Clayface was briefly a superhero. When I can't remember how many issues it went on for. This particular writer who wrote it was like 20 issues or something, and when they were bringing their story to a close, obviously Clayface kind of broke away, and which allowed anyone to reuse Clayface as back to his villainous roots. But I did like the fact that they used Clayface as a superhero for a while. Anyway, I guess we'll have to see as we get nearer the time. They'll release trailers, I'm sure, to find out who will be it. And I really do hope the Joker is not the villain.
Yeah.
I think I'm done with them using Joker right now. I think Heath Ledger was too good as the Joker. But also the Christopher Nolan trilogy, you know, the Joker was the second villain. And I just thought, please, Matt, don't go and copy that and make your second Batman film have the Joker in it. Just wait. Just like, you know, I assume this will be a trilogy. I'm more than happy for this trilogy to not even include the Joker.
Yeah, but like there's so many other you could do. Who is that guy that does all of the clocks? You could do that guy. That guy would be that he would fit really well in this universe. You could do Zatanna. We hardly ever get to see Zatanna. You could do her. She would fit really well in this universe. I think like the super campy characters, like the alligator guy.
Killer Croc.
Yeah, that'd be too much. But like, I don't know.
You didn't hear me then. I said Kite Man. They should do Kite Man.
You know who they should introduce, which it's not a Batman character, like he's his own character, but they should just introduce Booster Gold. Like if you need an asshole character to come through. Actually, Two-Face would be a really good character for this role. I mean,
I think Two-Face. Yeah, I mean, I don't agree about Booster Gold, not in these films. But I think people like I've just pulled it up. Hush would be a good choice.
Yes.
I wouldn't say Scarecrow was used too well previously, so not Scarecrow. I don't know necessarily, but Deathstroke would be cool.
Well, that was Ben Affleck's original plan.
Well, yeah, I know that was, but I think Deathstroke would be cool. I'm trying to think who else would be pretty cool. Azrael, maybe. I don't know. Black Mask, maybe.
Ooh, the ventriloquist. That could be fun.
Hugo Strange. Right, okay. So the Riddler TV series is meant to come out later this year, and then obviously in 2025, as I've said, Batman 2.
You mean the Penguin series?
Sorry, what did I say?
Riddler.
Oh, sorry, the Penguin TV series.
I was like, Riddler's getting his own show too.
No. The Penguin TV series is meant to be a prequel, I believe. So
yeah.
To this movie, and then obviously the Batman 2 comes out in 2025. So anyway, what would you rate this movie?
3.
Really?
Yeah.
It's really well done, though.
I mean,
I
think this film is really well acted, and I think this film is well written. I did not as much enjoy the production value of this film.
I'm torn between 1 and 2 grades.
Go with your heart, Mark.
Okay, 4.5.
Damn, that's high.
Yeah, and I'm gonna honestly like the rewatching of it both times following the cinema. I actually really enjoy it. So
yeah, I don't plan on rewatching this one. Once was enough for me.
I'm not saying this is not a movie I would sit down regularly and rewatch, but I could see myself rewatching this again.
Yeah, I think like it was not as bad as I thought it would be, just from initial impressions from the trailer and like from initial reactions when it was first released. So that's why it was easier for me to go into it, because like I was expecting to be disappointed, and I was not as disappointed as I thought I would be.
That's good. I think I did say to you about lower your expectations.
Yeah.
Only because not that it's a bad film, but lower than because of what we'd seen previously. So
yeah, but there were some different things about this film that I had not seen in any other Batman films that I did enjoy, like the tapered down use of gadgets. I really liked that. Like I loved it that it wasn't just like super campy utility belt, boom, you know, like it was just like strategic. It was very strategic when he used any of his little gadgets. So
we'll bring this episode to a close, and I'm glad that we've watched this. I'm glad we rewatched it. I'm glad you finally watched it. I'm glad that we got a chance to chat about it together, because when it came out, we didn't watch it. We didn't review it, and I can't remember why, but we didn't. And
because I refused to go see it in theaters.
I don't know. Was that why? But anyway, we didn't review it at the time, so I'm glad we finally got round to doing it. So, all right, next week we will be reviewing. So the next 2 weeks, we've said already, we're going to do Street Fighter versus Mortal Kombat, essentially. So next week is Street Fighter, the movie from 1994. This is the Van Damme movie, not any of the animated ones that they've released. This is the live action one.
The Van Damme movie where he played an American named Kyle.
Do you know what though? I just actually pulled up the cast in this here. I know Kylie Minogue is playing Cammy, but actually somebody I really love, Ming-Na Wen is playing Chun-Li. She's been in a lot of my favorite stuff over the years. Stargate being one of them. Anyway, we'll chat more about them next week. However, you can follow Geeks Unleashed everywhere. We're on Instagram, Facebook. I'm not calling it the one letter that it's called. We're on Twitter, so you can follow us there.
And you can get this podcast wherever you get your podcasts: Google, Podbean, Apple, Spotify. We are everywhere. So please leave us a 5-star review and tell your geeky friends.
Good journey.
Good journey.